Over the last few years, there's been debate over whether RMC and Cedar Fair still work together, and today I'm here to tell you that I can see both sides of the debate, and we're going to start off with why they may not work together. For this, we will be heading to the year 2018 when Cedar Point Fair would open 3 RMCs, Twisted Timbers, Steel Vengeance, and Railblazer. And for the case of this video, we are going to be looking at Steel Vengeance, which has had the most issues of the 3 coasters. We are going to start off by talking about the structure of Steel Vengeance. If you listen to videos of Steel Vengeance from 2018, you can hear the structure of the ride screaming as the trains run over the track, leading to Cedar Point having to repair the structure with RMC for many years. But even after repairing the structure of the ride, they still have had to work on the coaster just about every day. Now that we've talked about the structural issues, we need to get into the issues with RMC's brakes. Steel Vengeance would have so many issues with its brakes. We're going to be starting off by talking about the mid-course. This was supposed to be one of the ride's block zones, but they could not get it working as such because they could not perform a block check at this part of the ride without the coaster valleying due to one of the rails being slightly raised. Cedar Point would have to remove the block brake for most, if not all, of Steel Vengeance's first year. However, RMC was able to fix the issues with the brake, adding some drive towers to help the train get over the raised rail. Now that we've talked about the mid-course, we need to talk about the final brake run of Steel Vengeance. Steel Vengeance was meant to have 5 block zones, with one of them being the final brake run and another being the ready area, which is right after the final brakes. And this would cause issues on opening day because as the coaster ran through the course that day, the ride would gain more and more speed throughout the day, leading to the magnetic brakes and the final brake run not being strong enough to stop the heavier Steel Vengeance trains, leading to the coaster needing to be slowed by the drive tires. And at some point that day, the brakes and drive tires could not stop the Steel Vengeance trains, so the train crashed into the train in the station. But luckily for Cedar Point, the train was moving at a slow speed and caused no damage to the trains, and only 4 guests on the trains requested first aid, with all of them returning to the park later that day. And Steel Vengeance opened again an hour before close, only running 1 train. This was the way the coaster would run for the rest of May till RMC could make a change to the ride's final brake run. That change being replacing the retractable magnetic brakes with fixed magnetic brakes, which are always in the braking position. Then in June, Steel Vengeance would go back to 2 train operations, still without the block brake, but by 2019, that was fixed and Steel Vengeance is running 3 trains with no problems today. RMC would also work on the structure, with it being much better today than it once was. Now there's one more issue Steel Vengeance would have, and it was not really RMC's fault, and that it's an issue with phones and other loose articles on the ride. Due to the wild nature of an RMC coaster, Cedar Point had to ban phones and other loose articles on the coaster, installing metal detectors at the end of the queue line. This basically making Steel Vengeance an upcharge attraction. But luckily for park guests, Cedar Point installed double-sided lockers which are free at the end of the queue of Steel Vengeance. All this, plus Cedar Fair not buying a coaster from them since 2018, has made many think that they no longer work together. But now I'm going to try to explain why there's a high chance they still work together, and for this we will be heading back to Cedar Point and Steel Vengeance. And you may be saying, you just explained all the ride's issues, and yes, I did, but you're missing one of the key details from all of what I just said. And that being, RMC stuck with Steel Vengeance till they had it right. They worked on the structure of the coaster and the brakes to make sure that Steel Vengeance was a safe coaster for years. Now, why is this important? Well, because most companies do not spend years trying to fix their mistakes and leave them for the parks to figure out. But RMC just doesn't do this with any of their rides, like Lightning Rod. RMC never gave up on that project, and yes, it still has issues, but adding a chain lift to the coaster should really help the coaster. And even after all the issues with Lightning Rod, Herschend still bought another coaster from them, being the new Fire in the Hole. And a big reason for that is them not giving up on a basically failed coaster. Another reason Cedar Fair may still work with RMC is because the company and Cedar Fair parks joke around with each other on Twitter, like the Outpost 5 tweet, which was clearly talking about Kings Island, or them tagging Carolyn saying they wanted to give Fury a big brother, or Tony Clark and RMC talking about how they can't touch Millennium Force. This does not seem like something a company that Cedar Fair does not work with would do. Like, we don't see Intamin doing stuff like this. Next, Cedar Fair is a business at the end of the day, and they can't cut off working with 2 of the best companies, because you need to have the door open to new ideas, because without them, you will basically be getting the same or similar products for all of your parks. Also, you want to look at the look back at the last 4 years in the Cedar Fair chain and tell me what parks that don't have an RMC got a new thrill coaster. Because from what I remember, the only 4 parks that even deserve an RMC haven't got a new thrill coaster. Those parks being Kings Island, Knott's Berry Farm, Carowinds, and Canada's Wonderland, which is rumored to get a new thrill coaster in 2025. So that will change for one of the 4 parks. But what about the other 3? Well, Carowinds has Hurler, which seems likely to be RMC in the next 5 to 10 years. Kings Island could RMC Racer, but a ground-up hyper hybrid themed to Sonic Beast could also come to the park in the next 5 to 10 years. And Knott's could also go for a ground-up RMC hybrid or maybe a single rail coaster at Knott's. But Knott's does not have the best options of the 3. Now finally, where has the need for a RMC been in the Cedar Fair chain? Outside of Hurler and Great Canadian Mindbuster, there does not really seem to be many good wooden roller coaster options in the parks, as Kings Island has a Beast and Racer, 2 legendary wooden coasters, and Mystic Timbers, a coaster that only opened about 7 years ago. Then Carowinds, only large wooden roller coasters, Hurler, so no reason to RMCA parks, only wooden roller coaster. And finally, Knott's lacks any good wooden coasters other than Ghost Rider, so not much to work with there either. Now they could replace some of the Woodstock Express clones with family RMCs, but other than that, I don't see any other coaster that has a need to be RMC'd over the last 5 years. I hope this helps you see why RMC and Cedar Fair still could work together, but sadly, I don't know if we will ever get a clear answer, because with the merger of Six Flags and Cedar Fair. Bye guys, see you all next time.